Minister, senior Congress leader, who was in fact present at that meeting with the Prime Minister. A very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Neha. Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. Sir, what I of course want to begin by asking you is, what are the issues that were discussed at that meeting? What are the specific demands that the leaders from Jammu and Kashmir made? And what response did you get from the Prime Minister?
Well, I said, luckily, I was the first speaker, and most of the issues which I had raised, so it was ready-made for the other political leaders to talk about, of course, in their own way. So most of the leaders spoke by and large and supported those issues. Of course, I had said that the most important issue is the statehood. As a matter of fact, that and this state was divided in August 2019 without rhyme and reason. There was no reason, and without consulting the people of Jammu and Kashmir and without consulting the representatives of the Jammu and Kashmir. And since then, is now more than is almost now 2 years. As a result of which, this UT, everything is in doldrums. Everything is in standstill. The horticulture, be it transport, be industries, be it travel and tourism. So these were the issues. But ultimately, I said we have minimum 5 issues for today's agenda to begin with. So I said the statehood is most important. I said, of course, there was an issue of Article 370.
Yes.
But I said we are not going to make any demand with regard to 370 at the moment, because that is before the Supreme Court and is sub judice. So anything which is sub judice cannot be raised there. Raised today in today's meeting. Therefore, I would not like to press for this at the moment. But connected with this is the statehood. The state was divided in two, and it was downgraded to the level of the union territory. So we want full-fledged statehood. Second demand, I said that the elections are most important. The democracy should prevail. There is no democratic system at the moment. You have had Panchayati Raj, you had elections under Panchayati Raj, you had corporation elections, you had Zilla Parishad elections, you had block level developmental elections. But the assembly election, which is the most important one, that has not taken place. So we want elections also. The third demand, I said that is one of the most important issue is the rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits. I had said is the moral and political commitment and the duty of political parties and also the government of India to help and initiate the process of return and rehabilitation of the Kashmiri Pandit community to go back to the Kashmir. And also, I said, the fourth one, that the government of India should reassure the people of Jammu and Kashmir that historical domiciliary rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir concerning the land and state services will be protected, because in Article 370 that was protected. So pending that decision of the Article 370, whenever the state is, a statehood is given, at that point of time, these rights should be protected, the land rights should be protected, and state services should be protected. And also, the fifth one was the release of political parties, those who are in detained under preventive protected laws, preventive detention laws, or placed under house detention. So these were the 5 major issues, and I am happy that most of the members of the parliament in their own way were talking about these issues. Even on the Article 370, whosoever raised this Article 370 issue, they also subsequently themselves said also, okay, this is before the Supreme Court, so let us see the outcome of the Supreme Court. Some people will say will fight in the Supreme Court.
I
like
have
that.
to say that is very interesting, and I want to dwell on that in some detail in a moment. But, let's talk about some of the other demands. You've talked about 5 specific demands that you made on behalf of your party. Now, the Prime Minister said at this meeting, sir, he wants to bridge the gap between Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir. He said, Dilli ki duri aur dil ki duri dono dur karni hai. Now, the question is, has he given the leaders from Jammu and Kashmir any specific assurance about restoration of statehood and holding elections in the state? Has any time frame been set for this?
No, I would reply to both. The Prime Minister's reply, Delhi ki duri and Kashmir ki duri, was in response to what all political leaders of all political parties said. They said they are Indians. They would like to die as Indians. And why should people doubt us? Why doubting their integrity, our loyalty? They said, we are all Indians. So there is a confusion. Some people are creating confusion. Some people are creating, differences between Delhi and the people of Jammu Kashmir and leaders of Jammu Kashmir. So it was in response to that the Prime Minister said that, okay, we have to forget the past. I feel sad when the young boys are killed because of militancy. There has to be end to this militancy, which the state leaders also said that nobody wants to promote militancy in every political party wants peace, to restore the peace and harmony. Nobody is supporting militancy. And why should we blame? Why should we be blamed? Should the leaders of Jammu Kashmir be blamed that they give cold shoulder? The government of India is giving them cold shoulder.
In fact, Umar Abdullah came out of the meeting and said that there's been a complete breakdown of trust between the centre and the state, and it is the centre's responsibility to restore that trust. Would you agree with that?
Well, that was said by the different speakers in the meeting. So whatever the Prime Minister said, it was in response to that, but the other speakers had said about the mistrust. So the Prime Minister said, okay, past is past. Let us build up the bridges of trust and friendship and belief. I would like to work with the people of Jammu Kashmir. I would like to work with the leaders of the Jammu Kashmir, and I would like to bring the hearts of the people of Jammu Kashmir close to Delhi, and the Delhi people should remain close to the people of Kashmir.
Any specific assurance on restoration of statehood to Jammu and Kashmir? That's a demand that's been made by all of you. Have you got an assurance and a time frame?
What I said, the 5 demands which we had raised, by and large, these were the demands raised by other political leaders, as I said, of course, in their own way, and adding something more to that and adding their own grievances which they had to undergo during this past 1.5 years. But ultimately, the Home Minister in his reply said, yes, assembly elections will be held. Yes, statehood will be given. And yes, insofar as release of political leaders, he said almost only few are left. Almost he gave some number. Of course, he didn't say the percentage, but I could, guess that the number which he said released and the number which have not been released, that shows almost 98% have been released. This 98% is, I'm saying on my behalf, because he said because the number he said that shows almost 98% have been released, maybe more. So that means about the release of political prisoners who were detained under preventive detention laws. He dealt with that issue. He dealt with the issue of statehood. Yes, we will give. And he also dealt with the elections. Yeah, elections will be held. And there was no timeline. The timeline, he said, because large number of members, this leaders said that you had announced, the government had announced last year delimitation committee for Jammu and Kashmir and some northeastern states. But when Assam election approached, much before the election, the government of India said, okay, we will defer this delimitation process. We'll see, we will hold elections. So if you can postpone the delimitation committee in the state of Assam because of elections, why don't you defer delimitation committee, delimitation commission proceedings or process in Jammu Kashmir? To that, the Home Minister replied that in the case of Northeast and particularly in the case of Assam, there was no increase of assembly seats or decrease of assembly seats.
Okay.
But here in Jammu Kashmir,
7
with
seats
the
have been
division
added.
of the state and with the reorg Kashmir to the existing number. So, where will this increase 7 number,
Okay.
the 7 MLAs, where will they contest from?
Okay.
So, to accommodate those extra 7 seats, you must have the delimiter commission to function.
Okay.
So, I think to that everybody agreed.
But sir,
And
let
then-
me ask you this.
Then-
While
then-
we understand... Okay.
Then the Home Minister himself replied that by now it should have been through, but because of the COVID, it had to be extended. Since the Commission has not to decide only inside their condition room, they will have to go up to block level, they will have to go up to panchayat level,
Okay.
have the meetings at the panchayat, have the meeting with the public, and that was not possible
During COVID.
because of the COVID.
In
So
fact,
the-
we believe that the Delimitation Commission has already held virtual talks with all 20 deputy commissioners of Jammu and Kashmir. But sir, I want to ask you a follow-up question on this.
No,
Even
but
though you
here
say-
I would like to say,
Okay.
here that he said it is not only at the district or state level. The commission will have to go up to the panchayat level, up to block level,
Agreed.
and talk to the public,
Okay.
and talk to the elected representatives of the panchayat and zilla parishad.
But sir,
And
are
which
you
is-
concerned?